Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Magnus. If you're new here, I definitely like to talk about things that have to do with gaming and especially Shenmue. I am so rusty, to be totally honest, because I haven't live streamed or actually done a video for this channel in such a long time. I was going through a moving process, which I did a video for it and put it on my camera channel, which I put the link up so you can hit the little thing up above and then, of course, view that and see what my moving was like. But for the most part, I wanted to take time off to move, focus on rebranding, and to see what I wanted to do with this channel. Not change it too much, but also add to the channel. What else can I do for you guys that would be fun to be immersed with? And while doing that, I got the flu and I got horribly sick. So I wanted to be actually out sooner with a video, but I could barely move. In fact, right now I'm still pretty dizzy when I walk around and my voice is congested, so I apologize for that. But I'm doing a lot better. And William Lee, Skill Jim, hey, nice to see you guys. Thank you. I missed making these videos for a long time too, so it was totally nerve-wracking. I'm still kind of nervous to do this video today. I almost feel like this is the first time I'm ever streaming a video at all. This is like, a total honor for me and nerve-wracking at the same time. But I felt that if I couldn't speak, I felt kind of like claustrophobic. You just gotta get it out there, and you just gotta give your opinion and on the gaming industry, and especially on Shenmue. So since so much has been happening lately with the new Shenmue 3 and talks about Shenmue 4 and the storyline and everyone's opinion on it, and that's what I wanted to tackle today. Kind of go over that stuff. So let's just get down and dirty. First of all, Shenmue 3 is a game that I've already played and beat twice. Playing a third time as well. And I'm not playing it for anything like studying it or trying to get to know the game better. I'm just playing it for enjoyment. I'm not looking to 100% the game. I just like to get joy out of the game for myself, and that's how I play it for the most part. But let's be totally honest with ourselves. With Shenmue 3, first let me talk about the story. And I mean, spoilers galore. I mean, if you haven't finished the game by now and you're on this, then I don't know what to tell you. And I played it on PS4. I do not have the PC version. And sidetrack of a story. The PC version, I pre-ordered it before it came out. And then when the PC version actually was released, the place that I got it from a website called CD Keys, and they couldn't honor it. It was pretty much on lockdown. You had to get it from the Epic Games Store. You were not getting the game. So then they sent me an email like days later saying, sorry, we refunded your money. We couldn't sell you the game. It was because I was getting the game at a good discount at the time. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to play the PS4 version. I'll enjoy that version. And yes, I totally admit the PC version is graphically night and day compared to the PS4 version. At least the PS4 regular version, not counting the Pro, because I haven't played it on the PS4 Pro. It's different. But I probably will get it, but right now, it's just been a lot of transition. I knew I wouldn't even have time to play it while I was moving to this new studio, new location. And not that you guys would notice right now because I got the green screen behind me, but it's a different type of neighborhood that I'm living in right now. So even like, I live close to a police station. So unfortunately, in this studio, I get a lot of sirens every couple seconds, so bear with me if you hear that. And I'm like I mentioned earlier, if you missed it on the stream, I'm a bit sick because I'm trying to recover. Anyway, on to the story. So, going over the Shenmue 3 storyline, when he arrives in Guilin, and he, and at the end of Shenmue 2, and then he finally gets to Bailu Village after leaving the cave in the beginning of Shenmue 3, it's it's a beginning where you're starting to feel like, okay, things are finally going to heat up after the first two games, right? And you start playing all this storyline missions and side quests in Bailu Village, getting to know. I mean, it was important, at least from a developer standpoint, that you got to know and get familiar with the gameplay in Shenmue 3. And I think that's why Bailu Village was so stretched out as it was, because it slowly progressed you to get used to the fact that you've got to eat to sustain yourself. And then I learned pretty quickly that if you don't eat, you could at least keep 3 little energy circles until until you slept, and then you would get full energy if you chose not to eat at all. But you always wanted to be ready for a battle. But there would be days where I wouldn't eat as Rio at all, which was nice because eating wasn't mandatory unless you wanted to constantly keep running. But eating itself was a part of the gameplay that immersed you into different things. In order to eat, you had to earn money. In order to earn money, you had to do specific activities, such as chop wood or gambling. But then gambling only got you tokens, not money. Tokens, when you went into the prize exchange, could get you food, but got you prizes that you would then exchange for money. And it's that whole turnaround of events that would get you to be immersed in the game. Now, from that part, I think it was fun, but from a story perspective, it kind of pulled you away from the story. So as Rio investigates what's going on, he finds that there's a gang that's in town that's pretty much trashing these different people's houses, looking for the Phoenix Mirror, because one of those original, I forget what they're called, one of the chippers, the ones that what Shenhua's dad was and everything. They were the original ones that developed the Phoenix and the Dragon Mirrors. So they thought, and they worked, of course, closely with the Chiyu Men, which worked closely with Lan Di. They thought that one of them's got to have it. One of them's got to have the Phoenix Mirror, because we've got the Dragon Mirror. We need the Phoenix Mirror. Where is it? It's got to be around here somewhere. And right, Stonemason. Thank you for that. Thank you for that skill. Just I couldn't remember Stonemason. Again, it's I'm out of it lately. So they can't find the stonemasons, but if you think about it as well, this legend of where the significance of the Phoenix and Dragon mirrors was still kind of left out in the open. I know there was a lot of significance of that bridge that came into town and that like royal family that came in, and they developed the Dragon and Phoenix mirrors for them, but there's still no clarity as to the significance of what the Dragon mirror and the Phoenix mirror will do besides finding this treasure that we still don't know what it is. Let me get to the comment. I don't like that this game leans away from the supernatural aspects in Shenmue 2. We still don't know about Shenhua's power. It's mostly ignored. Toxin, that's a good point. Shenhua, there's a mystery into Shenhua and where her powers come from that the game doesn't dive into. Cold Blood Sensei, yo, what is with the audio? Am I the only one hearing static in the background? Do you guys hear static? Is it more than one just hear static? I'm sorry, I can't hear my audio purposely myself, so let me know if you continue to hear loud static, and I'll try to adjust it, at least here. So anyway, you have a couple of missing elements in the story that actually take place, and they don't reveal themselves or reveal to be anything further in the story, such as like the significance of Phoenix Mirror, Dragon Mirror, such as the significance of what Shenhua. What's the little significance about Shenhua? All right, thanks for letting me know about the little squeakiness. I will try to lower this. Again, it's a new studio, so until I perfect it, I'm just going to see if I could bring that down. I might sound a little lower. I'll lower this a little bit more. My microphone has a different audio control over here. So I don't know if I could have removed the static, probably not, but I've tried to tone it down just a little bit. And that's all I'll do for there. Next time, I promise, guys, I'll have the audio a little bit better. But let me focus back on to what I was talking about. So, Bailu Village, a lot of different story elements that we're leaving out. A lot of side quests that happen where you have to either earn money or do specific types of trainings, chase chickens, just to get different training, just to fight the thugs that you're trying to beat up. And then when you finally get to a certain point in Bailu and you beat up one of the main thugs, a bigger guy, Shenhua seems to do most of the work when it comes to interrogation, which is amazing. And then that leaves you to a mystery, but you also don't know what is going on. It leads you to ask more questions. And then you discover that Shenhua's dad was taken by the Chiyu men over to another place, the other city or village, and I can't even pronounce the name of that village. So if someone could type it up for me, I'd try to pronounce it. But you go on to the second area of the game, and that's where the game really opens up. It's, in my opinion, from what I could tell, a more in-depth environment than any of the environments in Shenmue 1 or Shenmue 2. There's a lot more that you can do in that world. But it's also kind of sidetracks you a lot as well. But I think the story starts to progress a little quicker. But you get sidetracked with have to earn money to talk to this person, have to find that person, have to ask a million questions. Meow woo. See, I can't even pronounce it like meow. Pronounce it like meow, as in cat. Meow woo, kind of. Got it. Thank you, Skill Joe. So, you talk to a lot of people, and you find that you meet this mysterious woman who you see her when you catch her off of the boat, and this woman turns out to be somebody significant in the game, but it doesn't happen until the very end of the game. Again, in this part of the game, I'm having so much fun fighting, earning money, gambling, going through the different shops, playing the different video games, forklift racing. I mean, you name it, this game had it from that perspective. But when it came to actual story development, I almost think like Shenmue 2 packed in a lot more story throughout the game, where this game packed in a lot more game and less story, which is not a bad thing in perspective, because I like playing Shenmue. I like the gameplay in Shenmue. I like the journey, the walking around, the experiencing the different points of the game where you can have fun and have a good time. But you also get to almost miss the story, almost say like, well, I want to find out what happens next. And granted, you eventually get to those once you do the grinding that the game makes you do. Again, spoilers, leaning towards the end of the game, when you finally are able to discover where the red snakes are hiding, you give them a good pounding, but then you get your butt whipped, and then you get trained on how to fight the red snakes, and then you find out that Shenhua has been kidnapped across the river, and then you gotta find someone who will take you, and it's pretty obvious who can take you across the river, and then everybody decides to join you for that final battle. I thought that stuff was pretty I mean, by the book, almost predictable from a story perspective on what could play out. Like, you meet all these people, then you all go together. But the way it played out in the story, at least in the game, I thought it was pretty epic. I actually enjoyed the full structure of the significance of, like, oh, I met all these people and now we're all together. Now I see that it makes sense. They wanted you to really enjoy that. Skill Jim says, I'm hoping that they spent the majority of time making the gameplay for Shenmue 3 so they have a foundation that works. Then in Shenmue 4, they don't need to focus on the gameplay. They can focus on the new environments and ultimately the story. You know what? I do honestly think that the point of Shenmue 3 was, let's rebuild the flow of this game. In Shenmue 1, it was the first of its kind, right? So in Shenmue 1, they experimented a lot with the open world environment, how it worked, the fact that, for example, to save the game, you had to go to his house and go to sleep or go to bed, and then right there, that's the only save point you had in the original Dreamcast version. Then for the rest of the day, you couldn't save unless you went home again. Then you couldn't skip time. You actually had to wait. Those were all experiments that they were doing in Shenmue 1. But they built the foundation so that in Shenmue 2, they were like, okay, we knew what worked. They had the engine running. And they're like, okay, let's make it so that you can skip to specific time events. Let's make it so that you can save from anywhere. And then let's make it more story driven and really pick up the pace. They were able to do that after they built the foundation of Shenmue 1. Now with Shenmue 3 in a totally different environment, you almost see that the team went back a little bit. The team in Shenmue that developed Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2 now developing Shenmue 3 in a new time. New engine that they never worked with, but thankfully that this engine made it a lot easier to develop things, but you had to kind of build a foundation once again. It's like you're building a new house. So now that you've got that built, you can now continue and build upon that, make it bigger. And because it seems that, I mean, if anyone hears anything different, I've done a lot of research, but Shenmue 4, as far as I'm concerned, is confirmed. It's going to happen. And you're going to have developers backing it this time with more money, as long as they develop it a little bit more high-end, which is what I'm hoping for. I'm not looking for like a AA title. I'm looking for AAA money. Might not happen, but I'm hoping for AAA money, because if you get that and you actually launch this franchise with Shenmue 4 with a really solid backbone, then you're almost guaranteed success. And it's not impossible for a franchise to come in with a numbered sequel and earn critical acclaim from a bunch of new gamers, as long as it's a well-made game. Case in point, Grand Theft Auto 3. Now, yes, Grand Theft Auto 3 has its own separate storyline, and each Grand Theft Auto has its own storyline, which you could jump into any Grand Theft Auto and it be your first and you not miss a beat. But it's not impossible to jump into a later series and then fall in love with it. Now, I remember Uncharted was a game that I absolutely enjoyed on PS3. But it wasn't until Uncharted 2 that it really, really brought in a lot of fans. Now, it did develop a lot of fans because it was this great original game. But the second Uncharted was, bar none, best out there. Anyway, back to the story. So, in the conclusion of Shenmue 3, what do you have? You have a final battle. And in this final battle, you finally fight the guy who beat your ass so many times in... Oh, man, my camera froze. Okay, I just noticed. Alright, give me a second. Sorry, guys. It's I was chatting up a storm there. I'll get my camera back up. Boom. Boom. Am I back? Okay. This is a weird glitch that I have with my streaming thing that freezes my camera sometimes. So thanks for that skill, Jim. It's cool. So, all right. So, where was I? So, going back to the final battle, you fight the guy who you might have beat up before, but the game forces you to lose to him. I can tell you that the dude in the red shirt who knew all those animal martial arts, he could not lose to me. I was that good. I was good enough to beat him up every time. And it just didn't let me win. It didn't let me pretty much have that honor of saying, "Hey, look, I beat him up." Nope. But that's for story purposes. I don't care. I know other games have done that as well, so it doesn't matter. But that last final fight was pretty cool with him. But I knew I would beat him because it was just some guy that I had beaten up before. But then, as you continue to battle, in fact, I don't know if it was before him or after him. I can't remember specifically. But there was a point where you start to fight the Shenmue backers that paid enough to be actual fightable NPC characters. And that was just mind-blowing for me. Like, I thought that was just... Imagine being one of those backers that actually paid to be in the game like that. And I was so jealous. I'm like beating them up, but I'm actually angry at them because they're like, "No, you're doing what I wanted to do." Bow. Because it was just... But that's what was cool about me personally as a fan. I found that so cool. And again, gameplay. They focus on the gameplay. The fighting engine in particular... which caused a lot of controversy. Some liked it, some hate it. There's no throws. What's wrong with it? I thought it was a pretty solid, bare bones engine. I think I still have a lot more to discover, and I did not get all of the skills that I could unlock with Rio. I just had my basic few that I kind of lean towards, and then that's it. But using that fighting engine, I had a blast. I honestly had a blast. It was challenging enough to where sometimes fights took me a couple of times, but it wasn't that challenging to where I got frustrated and just gave up. Not that I would for this game. I would keep on trying until I got better. But I honestly had fun, especially with the way the bodies were like flailing around when you would actually hit them with a nice elbow assault or whatever. So the interesting part that caught me off guard in the story for Shenmue 3 was the fact that, first of all, hit me with the woman's name that I'm telling you, it's been a while. But the Woman of Fire, hit me with her name because she was there and she was able to get the Phoenix Mirror from you. That was shocking. And I was kind of distraught because I'm like, okay, Niao-san, thank you, Skill Jim. You're honestly a lifesaver of this stream. So Niao-san, she was there, and I'm thinking that she's kind of like formulating this plot the whole time, that she was the one causing you trouble, trying to find the Phoenix Mirror, and she probably was. But I had no idea that plot twist would happen where she was totally against Landi. And actually, while you were fighting him, she would set the place on fire. And that's another thing that caught me off guard. Like, when it was like, we all saw the trailer, it was like, Landi, fight me. I will have my revenge. Corey Marshall, bless you. I love the way you deliver that line. But, you're actually fighting Landi. Like, that gameplay experience was something that I never thought that I'd see that day. And then the place is burning if you're fighting, and you fought his goons off first. But then you're fighting Landi, and it's just like, you can't touch him, obviously. But I didn't think that we were anywhere near ready. Like it was way too soon, and then I start to think as I was playing that part of the game, and I had already put in a buttload of hours into Shenmue 3. Like when I was reaching the conclusion, I felt like I'm reaching the conclusion. It's about time. This game is plenty long. Excuse me. I felt that it was already about time for the game to end, but we were not ready to fight Londi. I felt that we shouldn't be fighting Londi. For story purposes, it made sense, and I wasn't upset. But I'm like, I'm not ready to fight Londi. This is not good. So obviously, we were not victors in that sense, and Ren, of course, took the fake mirror and tossed it, distracting Londi, and then we got the heck out of there. And then the story kind of goes on. Now, I almost expected that there would be like a long playable dialogue version of when they go to like the Great Wall or when they were on that ship, right? After all of those events. I almost expected to have that playable version just to see where the story is going to progress before it cuts you off, just like it did with Shenmue 2. But instead, it just kind of more or less did the whole conclusion there and then stopped. Which I wasn't disappointed by. And from a story perspective, it honestly felt just right. It felt what it needed to be. This game did not need to conclude the series and shouldn't have, given that its budget and its kind of world building that it needed to do again. Just like the original Shenmue. Okay, the original Shenmue, I mean, you talk about Shenmue 2 leaving you on a cliffhanger. Let's talk about Shenmue 1. Shenmue 1, you witnessed Londi murder Ryo's father. You spend the entire game on this sidetrack quest of, going through finding out who the men in the black car were, and then finding out a bunch of sailors were involved, and then you go to work at the docks, and then after working at the docks, you meet this gang, and then you fight this gang, and you're like, well, what about Londi? We need to get to Londi. And at the end of the camera frozen again. Okay. Alright, sorry, hang on. I will get this fixed once I get my studio fixed up. Okay, I'm back again. Sorry about that. Thanks again. But anyway, working at the docks, doing all this, and at the end of the game, you never even find Londi. He leaves in a boat, and you're just kind of like, I just waited years hearing about this game on how epic it was. I played the whole thing waiting this long, and it was at the end of 2000, November 2000, that Shenmue, the first Shenmue, came out for Dreamcast. And Dreamcast didn't have much time after that. And all I get is Londi off in a boat. I didn't even meet this woman who was on not only the cover, but on the back. See, on the back as well was Shenhua. See? Oh, well, it's too bright there. But she's everywhere, and it's like, you left me out in the open. What was I supposed to think back then? Now, that was a different time. And what I didn't get back then is that it was ground building. It was building a foundation. Back to that point. Shenmue 2 then was like, here you go. Here's where we're going with this story. And now Shenmue 3 is kind of like, if you just shove the whole game in the first one, which this is the first one of this new generation, you don't get the actual flavor to savor the series. So, consider Shenmue 3 the Shenmue 1 of this generation. It's what it is. It's just building a foundation, and then the story will obviously progress with Shenmue 4. That's kind of the point. And the developers, unfortunately, didn't have much of a choice, especially because it's really in in Yu Suzuki's hands, and it's kind of what he wants to do. So, what do I think about this story? And that's the point of this video, right? What do I think about this story? It's, as I said, the story is what it needed to be. Given the time constraints, given the marketing budget, and given the fact that they had to develop it the way that they did. So Shenmue 3 is what I call the Shenmue 1 of this generation. So looking forward to Shenmue 4. And I'm already expecting another cliffhanger in Shenmue 4, but maybe a little bit more story. There is one last thing that I did want to complain about, and that's not so much a Shenmue problem. It's more of a modern gaming problem. And what it is I grew up in the 90s. Well, 80s and 90s. I'm an old soul, I guess. And obviously I had Shenmue 1 in my hands. I miss this. I'll show you guys. This is instruction booklet. But also with instruction booklets, it gave you a little bit more immersion into stories without actually having to put some CGI cutscene into the whole production or put some dialogue into it. You were able to develop or at least immerse yourself in a little bit more story and gameplay instructions on a nice printout book that was like, well, this one, Shenmue's somewhere black and white back in the day. This was in color. But it really broke down the game really, really well. And a lot, maybe new games do it digitally, where they'll say, okay, here's the instruction put digitally. But a lot of games don't do it at all, and they'll just do the tutorial in the beginning of the game and figure you got to be smart enough at this point to know how to pick up a control and play it. So, but it's the tangible value of having that, all the neat stuff that they included. Even like the Shenmue passport, having this is handy as well. So all of this stuff is nice to have in an item when you buy a game. And this is why I bought physical media. Shenmue 4 is honestly the only physical disc that I own for my PS4. Everything else is digital. And that's because nowadays, you don't get anything. Unless you buy like a special edition, whatever, or a hyper special edition. Pay a bunch of extra money. But it's just a Blu-ray case with a slip, some marketing material in the back, and I'm frozen again. Oh, hang on. Ugh. Hang on, right? That's Yu Suzuki's franchise, but happens too often. Again, thank you for being patient. I'm almost done, I swear. So that's my point. I wish that at least if we're going to send out, still develop game boxes, that you put a little bit more into it, because I'm finding myself just getting digital copies of everything nowadays, and it's kind of sad because I really do miss the physical items of owning a game and the books, materials in it. I actually can't even speak. Still have the original like Dreamcast contest play to win pamphlets if you register items in it. That's I think that there's value in it. Anyway, okay, I've rambled all enough. Thank you guys for joining this stream. And it was a real honor to be back. I apologize for the cameras and the audio. Again, I'm still setting up this studio, learning how to put everything together in this sense so that it could be optimal like I had it in the old studio. But let me know what you guys think, and thank you for joining me. I know it was kind of like last minute, but last minute sometimes works. At least to just get these gears grinding. I'm going to do a couple of more videos in the future regarding different game franchises. Actually, I got a kind of a a dialogue that I wanted to talk about with the Metal Gear Solid series. So that's actually going to be my next video. Just to kind of, it's like, I don't know if you ever played the Phantom Pain, but the Phantom Pain was an unfinished game, but at the same time, I think there's a conspiracy that might have been on purpose the whole time. And I'll dive into that in my next video. Also, there's another thing that I want to mention is the Shenmue 500K app. I downloaded that app, and it's actually pretty cool. It's got a lot of Shenmue information on it. Different videos that come up, different articles that come up. And then in the Shenmue stories sections, it's got some pretty cool stories about different Shenmue fans that write how they got into the franchise. So it's definitely worth a check out. Anyway, that's just what I wanted to mention. Other than that, I've got nothing else to say except thank you. If you're new, please consider subscribing. And for everyone else, you've already made my day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. And thank goodness the camera didn't freeze that time. Alright. See you guys later.